It's a symphony of horse, strategy, man and machine. Harness racing requires speed, stamina, power, and psychology. It began centuries ago with friendly rivals racing the family horse. Today, it's a high-stakes sport where fortunes can be won and lost in minutes. And like any sport, everybody is looking for a superstar, the perfect athlete to form the trifecta of the right horse, the right driver, and plain old luck. It rarely happens, but when it does, it's magic. Truro, Nova Scotia is thousands of miles from harness racing's most famous tracks. At first glance, it's an unlikely place for a legend to begin. But around here, the love of harness racing runs deep.
My dad was a race fan, and I started going to the races with him. Probably, I remember in like grade 5 going to the races and watching the horses. Over the years, the racetrack's certainly been a vital part of Truro.
As a boy growing up here, Brent MacGrath found plenty of work in the horse barns and the spark of a passion that would burn for a lifetime.
I learned that I could clean stalls and clean harness and make a little bit of cash. I've always loved animals, and horses were just another animal to fall in love with.
When I first met Brent, all he could do was talk about horses. He grew up with them, and he grew up with the dream to have a stable and to train horses. We got into having to make a living, got into the car business, but always one foot in the door of harness racing.
With Brent's entrepreneurial spirit and love of the track, it wasn't long before he began putting together a plan. His expectations were modest.
I became partners with Gary Pye in the car business, and we'd done very well. So I was looking for some people that could give me $10,000 to go find a horse and not be the end of the world if it didn't work out, because typically these things are not profitable.
In the horse world, ownership groups are called syndicates. They named theirs Schooner Stables.
But you can't cash in good intentions, so keep walking, boys. Ain't that what you do?
I had known all the members of Schooner Stables. I had done business with most of them here at the dealership.
I was away from the game 20+ years until Brent, he called me and said, hey, why don't you invest in some horses? And I said, sure.
One of the persons that was going to invest the $10,000, they backed out, and they asked me if I wanted to come in.
Setting aside a third for care, feed, and housing, Brent had $40,000 to find a horse. That's peanuts in the horse racing world. But Brent knew what he was looking for, and he was prepared to come home empty-handed if he couldn't find it.
I wanted to find a horse that I was going to like to go to the barn and deal with every day, one that I liked the look of. My money was in there too. Some people would take some flaws that I might not take, and I wanted to really enjoy looking at the horse that I picked out.
Brent took his high standards and his friends' money to the center of the harness racing world, Lexington, Kentucky.
The harness racing industry, really, Lexington is their place. And not only is the place where they have the sale, it's called Fasig-Tipton, and they have a beautiful ring inside. Most of it's outdoors. You can walk around on a nice fall day and see the horses being shown. People flock to a place to see all the important people of the industry. There's great sales in Ontario. There's a great sale in Harrisburg. They could have bought a horse in the Maritimes, but they decided this was where some of the best, if not the best, horses are sold.
Is this your first foal?
No.
So you can kind of follow the horse that you like right from the stall, right up to the outside walking ring, then into the inside walking ring, and then obviously move into the sales arena to bid on them. And that is an exciting time. There's some value in that process in that you get to see the one that you like up against 4 others and how they size up. Are they bigger than the 4 that are in the ring? Because that is probably the same group that he's going to be racing against as far as size goes. I was looking for an Ontario sired horse, which was a horse that his father was in Ontario to race in the Sire Stakes program. Beach was one of the Ontario sired horses in the sale. The first time I laid eyes on him was Friday afternoon. And I took him out of the stall and I looked at him and I went all over him and I loved him. He clearly looked like a man amongst boys. And, you know, and you really seen that when he was in the ring with 4 other horses.
The horse that made such a big impression was named Somebeachsomewhere, after a country music song that had topped the charts in the months before his birth.
He was strong, he was a very happy horse, or he appeared to be, had a nice eye on him. I like a kind horse with a good heart, and he was all of that, and he was a great color, and he was Ontario sired.
Everyone in the auction scrutinizes each horse. They look at the horse's size and musculature and the line of its back. They pay special attention to the way it walks, looking for any quirk, weakness or flaw in what's called its conformation.
Conformation, that's how correct a horse stands. When you're looking at a horse, not only body shape, general figure, and one of the main things you're looking at is the horse's legs. If the horse has got a conformation defect, which means maybe he toes out, maybe he has a crooked knee, all of that is going to compromise his chances to be a good racehorse, because he's more likely to break down, injure himself, get lame, or just not have a good fluid gait.
Every category, he checked the box.
He doesn't come from a really royal family. He has a nice pedigree, but he doesn't come from one that's obviously going to change the world.
The most expensive horses are brought to the show ring on day 1.
Well, good evening, and we welcome you here. Going to have a nice sale for you this evening. Only got a little bit less than 100 heads, so shouldn't take.
They carry famous pedigrees, high expectations, and massive price tags.
The amount of money they were paying for horses, I had never been to a sale like that in my life.
$60,000 last call, $250,000, $260,000, and sold it right there. EC 200.
It was impressive, and stood in awe for a couple of hours. It was a bit discouraging in the first night how high the prices were going, and you know whether I was going to be able to buy a horse with our $40,000. But $40,000 was the money I had.
Somebeachsomewhere didn't come up for auction until day 3.
They weren't getting a bid, and I started the bidding out at $10,000. And then whoever chased me up to 20 got out, and I thought, I'm getting this horse for $20,000. And then somebody else got in, and I basically just bid as quickly as I could.
The price climbed above $30,000, getting close to $40,000. Every cent Schooner Stables could spend.
He dragged his bids out bad, and obviously he was thinking $40,000 was what he had on his mind, and I was the one that landed on $40,000.
When the gavel fell, Schooner Stables had their horse.
I thought I had him for 20, and you told me the story about Buddy saying, I was going to keep going, but that guy was crazy because how fast I was bidding, and I was bidding so fast that he had no chance of buying the horse. He didn't know that $40,000 was my limit.
Breeder Stephanie Smith Rothaug remembers loving Somebeachsomewhere from the moment he was born, and knew right away that his new owner felt the same.
I walked my own horses up and back from the ring, and by the time that I got the horse back to the stall, he was there at the stall.
I was basically running back to the barn to make sure that I didn't miss something on him and get him out and look at him a little closer.
Yo, we're having fun.
And I knew that they were going to care about the horse because he beat me back to the stall.
I called my wife and said to her something like, I can't believe we got this horse for $40,000. I had everybody in the loop on what we had done and how happy I was.
I didn't realize he was even going to bid on Some Beach Somewhere. But I was there when he did, and he grabbed me and was bouncing off the walls and said, "You got to see what I just bought."
He was ecstatic that he had got him for that price.
They are all majestic animals, and this one was a nice new horse, going to be fun. Brent was going to train again, but didn't mean much to us at that point in time.
Conventional wisdom says a world-class horse should be trained at a famous stable in a warm southern location, someplace like Florida. But Brent brought Some Beach Somewhere to his hometown of Truro, Nova Scotia in the dead of winter and began training him.
It's a long road from an untrained horse to the racetrack. He's over there every morning training him. His wife would be there helping him as well. You get fed carrots and patted and paid a lot of attention to, a bit more like a pet than a traditionally trained horse.
They learn to do their work and their pace by doing a little more than they did yesterday. Same as swimming for a person or skating. You know, as a kid, you should skate a little stronger tomorrow than you did today when you're learning, and pacing is the same way, or trotting.
In harness racing, it's not enough for a horse to be fast. It has to be disciplined. Some Beach Somewhere is a pacer, which means the front and rear foot on each side move together, left, right, left, right. Breaking stride is penalized and can cost them the race.
Brent would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the track, feed the horses, train the horses, and arrive at work at 9 o'clock and work all day. And then go back to the track at lunchtime, feed the horse, then go back to the track at night and feed the horse again and bed him down.
Brent was not a professional trainer. It was sort of a hobby for him. And same as all of us, none of us were into that business. He was totally dedicated, and it was his life.
I don't think anybody goes to the sale expecting that they're going to buy a champion. It doesn't matter how much money they have to spend. Most horses in the industry starts them out about 3 minutes as putting them the first time they time them.
Brent had called me that morning that he was putting him on the watch, and I went over. Brent just showed me the watch, and at that point, I knew there was something different.
I started Beach out in 2:35, which is a significant drop, but I was sure he could handle it. Beach never had a bad day, ever. He just did everything I asked him to do, every time I asked him to do it.